The following is a candidates night sponsored by the Lions Club and organized by the Canton's Voter Guide Group. For more information online, go to cantonmavoterguide.com. The local election is April 2nd, 2024. The following candidates are running for the Planning Board. There is one open seat for a 5-year term and one open seat for a 2-year term. On the 5-year term, you can choose one candidate. The candidates for the 5-year term are John Marini and Kathy McCormick. For the 2-year term, you can choose one candidate. The person on the ballot running for the 2-year term is Sean Robinson. The moderator is Mark Porter.
Hello, my name is Mark Porter, and I'll be your moderator this evening. We have an opportunity to hear from the candidates for the Planning Board for the 5-year seat that is up for election. As you know, we will not be taking questions from the audience this evening. The questions have been generated by the volunteers who planned this event and by many of you who responded to the Canton Voters Guide survey. While there are many interesting and important issues, this evening's forum, we have prioritized questions focused on the future, not on the past. And we've tried to avoid issues that we feel have been heavily discussed in other forums. We try to choose questions that will allow each of our candidates to differentiate themselves and are fair to answer for both new candidates and incumbents. I will note that candidates did not receive any questions in advance. And now to the format. We will start with a 2-minute opening statement for each candidate. You'll then ask questions on a rotating basis that you'll each have 2.5 minutes to answer. In some cases, I may ask follow-up questions based on your responses. We'll then conclude by asking each of you to make a 2-minute closing statement. When speaking, the microphone in the center of the table is to amplify your voice in the room. The small microphones on the table are for CCTV. When time is up, I'll ask that you pass your microphone to the next candidate. We have a timekeeper here in the front row who will let you know as your time is elapsing. He asks that you try to keep your answers concise, to the point, and respect the time limits. To the candidates, we ask that you're respectful to each other, that you do not interrupt your fellow candidates, and we remind you that any time used to rebut a fellow candidate's response will lessen the time you have for your own response. And to the audience, you were great in the first session. I really appreciate that. Please hold any applause or comments. Please respect your neighbors, both in the audience and on the stage. And finally, the session is being recorded by Canton Community TV and will be broadcast in the days to come. So please encourage your friends and neighbors to watch. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our candidates, Kathy McCormick and John Marini. And just with the last one, I will ask the person closest to me to call the coin flip. Lady Liberty is heads, the eagle is tails. Please call it in the air.
Heads.
It is tails. Good. So John,
first?
yes, so 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Well, I don't know what opening statement. I'm just going to read what I'm going to say, okay? All right.
It sounds like your microphone may not be on. Is it flipped up?
Hello? Hello? It is. Here it is.
Thank you.
You don't have to excuse me because I have never run for public office, and I've been on many boards, and I've been all over the state, and I've done a lot of stuff, and never have I ever been elected to do something. So I'm going to do my best. And I had a speech all drawn up, and it's going to take 5 minutes. So bear with me because I have to cut this down to make it and say all this in 2 minutes. So if I crumple up some stale, just bear with me, okay? But anyway, I'm John Marini. I come from Watertown, and I moved to Canton in the early 60s. And in Canton, I served on the board of zoning board of Canton for 6 years. I was president of Boston Home Builders, Backbeat Boston, then president of the state home builders, and that went on to the board of directors for the National Association, which has 25,000 members. And I was nominated Builder of the Year twice. Outside of Canton, I built 482 homes and condos in various towns. In Canton, I built 1,480 homes, condos, apartments, 2 office buildings, 6,000 square feet of retail space, and my personal office, 12,000 square feet, on 345 New Ponce Street, which I've occupied for 55 years. I owe most of this due to the support I got from the Board of Selectmen, the zoning board, and the many citizens that voted for the article that I submitted at the town meeting 18 years ago. We even got a big front page write-up from the Globe Spotlight for being the first town to build mixed-use downtown revitalization zoning. From this article, I built 580 apartments and condos, 2 office buildings, 6,000 square feet retail space, all in the town within a half mile of the railroad station downtown. 3 of the buildings were mixed-use apartments with retail and office space. This meets all the state mandate on housing in the vicinity of the railroad station.
Thank you, John. We'll have a closing statement, and we'll have other times to.
Okay, just read the.
I'm sorry. We're trying to keep everything to the time. So Kathy, also 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Sure. My name is Kathy McCormick.
Oh, microphone.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's all right.
You can have-
That's all right. My name is Kathy McCormick, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a lifelong resident of Canton, and I have raised my 2 children here. I am running for re-election to a 5-year term on the planning board. I think I have done an overall excellent job, and we mostly make positive recommendations that go up to the zoning board. I listen to people and their concerns, and I also often accompany them to the ZBA hearings, which usually follows the planning board. And in the 5 years, I have been to almost every meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So now into the interesting questions, and I'm sure you both knew this one was coming. MBTA. So Kathy, we'll start with you. Do you support the MBTA overlay? Will you plan to support the MBTA overlay at town meeting? And if the article fails, what are the benefits and risks to the town? And you have 2.5 minutes.
Okay. I actually do support the MBTA zoning law, but mostly because it like the 42B and the cluster zoning, it was passed by the legislature. So towns right now really don't have a choice but to go along with it, I think. And at least with the MBTA zoning laws, unlike the 40B, they gave the town parameters and let them work within them. So the town does have some control over what they put into the zoning. So, and I know Milton is fighting it, but when 40B came in, I mean, all the towns fought that too. So I can't see that it would work. And if it does, and we pass it at town meeting, we can rescind it at town meeting too. So I will support it. And I think maybe the negative is, we have more housing, but the area that we chose, which is around the Canton Junction, was already slated to be put in dense housing anyway. They have already had town meeting, public meetings on it, and it was already in the master plan implementation committee. So, and I think, and the downside is, we'll lose our funding grants, and we do a lot of work around town with these grants. The sidewalks up by the on Washington Street were all with a grant, and there's a big sidewalk project coming up for Neponset Street. That's a grant too. So Canton does use them. The speed bumps up in the Messenger Street area and all the signs were also grants. So it's important, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. So John, same question. At town meeting, do you plan to support the MBTA overlay? And if the article fails, what are the benefits and risks to the town?
I want to say one thing. I feel strongly, and I'm going to fight it, that this is not the thing for town. I am dead set against this thing because I was on the board of mass housing for that, and I worked with the state, and I know how the state operates. This mandate is a 3-part series. It's going to be come in 3 sections, okay? The first one is they're going to mandate that you gotta build so many units around a railroad station, within a half a mile of railroad station. You gotta build, I don't know how many units, okay? And then the second part of it is, they're gonna change those lot lines to include the whole town of Canton. So now, we are giving the state the authority to tell us what they're gonna do on all the vacant land. And that is not right. We can do whatever the state mandates without the state telling us what to do. And then the third part of that mandate that they're presenting is that they're gonna tackle single family. They're gonna go after the single family. They're gonna change the zoning that you can't build a single family house. And the houses, the single family houses that are already built and that are large enough, they can make those into two family houses. And if the lot is big enough, they can build another house on the same lot. And this is catastrophe. And I say this sincerely, and I've worked in Canton for many years, and I've done a lot of building. And all the state mandates, we've done it. We've passed our legislation, and I've passed a zoning article that does what this mandate says. I'm telling you, and from my heart, I spent a lot of years and I worked my heart off, and I don't want to see change. Because if this goes on true, we will become a city. You will become Mattapan, Roxbury, Canton. That's what's going to happen. This happened. Believe me when I tell you, because I worked with the state. I was one of the fellows who introduced the 40B. Well, this is back in 1980. I was working with the Mass Housing, and we made that 40B to the legislature. And we worked it out good. But then the state took it over, and they blew the whole thing out of proportion. I so firmly believe, and emotionally I'm upset, that we should not pass this thing.
Thank you. So, John, this next question, we'll start with you on the next question. How do you feel that accessory dwelling units should be regulated in the town of Canton?
Well, of course it should be regulated. We have a zoning board. We should have regulated. I think that what they want to do is they want to change the single-family houses into two families. I don't agree with that. I think that we should have a single-family. The guy who buys a single-family house, this is what Canton is like. It's a suburban town, okay? And then I agree that if the lot is big enough, okay, but be a little more cautious. Not make it too small, but make it really big, that they can put an accessory building on that same lot. That I have to say, that's reasonable, because some of the lots in Canton are 40,000 square feet lots, and you can put another house on there. But I really think that we should sit down and regulate what they can do over there. Because if you leave the state and you pass this, and the state does it, they can say, well, wait, no, you want to build one? No, build 4 units, build 6 units. It can't happen. I'm just telling you that this is very dangerous to put this thing together. Because the town of Canton, I don't think people realize, we have the most sophisticated, the most professional people running this town. This is a great town. And I've built $500 million worth of real estate working with the town of Canton. And I've worked with 5 different selectmen boards, 5 different zoning boards, and we work intelligently, smart, all worked all together, and especially the citizens. In fact, some of these things here, I had the citizens vote to put something together. So we can do it ourselves. We're a good town. I don't think people realize what a great town Canton is. This is one of the premier towns in the south of Boston. And I say this here because I've built in 6 towns. I've built real estate all over the place, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry.
Thank you. So, Kathy, same question. How do you feel that accessory dwelling units should be registered in Canton? Or regulated, I'm sorry.
Can I just ask a question? Are you talking about the accessory buildings we already have for zoning, or like new zoning, or if we were going to change what we have?
I was not totally prepared for follow-up questions. I'm looking at my So I think that the spirit of the question was in the sense of increasing the housing stock in Canton. Should we be able to put them anywhere? What is how you folks, I think, have some control over it. So tell us how you think the right way to do it.
So we did change it, I don't know, it was last town meeting or the town meeting forward to make it a little easier to convert your accessory building into an apartment. Not a second home, but to rent for an apartment. But it's like more like existing garages and that. And so I think it's fine to do in certain areas of town, and I think it should be regulated. I mean, I don't think, it's a good idea to let just anybody in town, put up a shed or a garage and, move into it. But yeah, I think it should be regulated, and we should see a little bit more of that with the new zoning that was passed. So I'm for it.
Thank you. And so we'll stay with Kathy on this question. Also in the same vein, what is your approach to improving the affordability of housing in Canton? Not necessarily affordable housing, but improving the affordability of housing in our town.
Well, to improve the affordability of housing, because it's the affordable housing definition is if you make 80% of the average income of Canton, then you would pay like 80% of the average home price or 80% of the rent. And it's still very expensive for people to afford. Really the only way that you're going to increase affordable housing stock, if that's what you want to do, is to have more housing available. And I think that was the direction they were taking in and around Canton Junction with the public meetings they were having. And people who went to those public meetings for the Canton Junction improvements were in favor of dense housing in that area. I mean, I think it's a good area to have more housing, and hopefully it'll be more like the Paul Revere Heritage Site where you get a mix of young people taking the train into work. You have a mixture of people up there. It's like a third, and a third almost. A third are downsizing. So more houses would be less pricing. So that is the only way you're going to improve it. We just have to watch that we maintain our 10% level with the state. And the state is allowing towns to include the affordable units in with the low income. So it counts towards low income stock, which is a good thing. So yeah, we need more housing.
Thank you. So John, same question. What is your approach to improving the affordability of housing in Canton?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
How could I think maybe I'm gonna lose this election, I talk too much. But affordable housing, right? It's the market that controls affordable housing, okay? People only pay for the house what it's worth. The affordable housing, the town has done their part. They have, all the buildings that I've built, okay? I've had to make somewhere between 10 and 20% affordable. So I think that is the limit that the town has to do, because the town can't go out and give grants to people. That's the state that does that, and the state has a lot of grants. They can't. I mean, we can't afford. The town cannot say, okay, that house is $20,000. Well, you got to sell it for $20,000 cheaper, and the town will give them $20,000. You can't do that stuff. The state has the authority to give the grants, and the state has a shitload of authorities, because I can, when I read this thing here, I can tell you how much authority. The state has a lot of money to give. The towns, they can't do that. As far as affordability, the town does the 20%. They can raise the 20%, make it 25% of all the houses being built, and we've done that. So I can't understand what they mean about the town supplying affordable housing. Well, how are they going to supply affordable housing? Tell me.
So,
I'm trying to ask. I'm asking a sensible question. You're saying, well, the town is going to provide affordable housing. How are they going to do that? Just are they going to give the guy the deposit to buy the house? Are they going to give the money to the builder cheaper so that he could sell the house cheaper? I mean, it'd be common sense. But anyway,
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Well, and I think all of us sometimes struggle with the distinction between housing that is affordable and the definition of affordable housing. I mean, I have more gray hair in my beard than I did when I first bought a house in Canton, but it really blows my mind to see the 900 square foot house on Neponset Street that I purchased in 2007, what Zillow thinks that that's worth right now. And to think about being 23 or 24 and trying to buy that house now is intimidating. So, John, this question will be for you. First, what is the planning board's role in improving Canton Center, an area that I know is near and dear to your heart?
Well, let me put it this way. I just improved it by over $3.5 million. I built all the stuff in the Canton Center, from the town hall all the way to Forge Pond. I built 586 apartments right in there, and the condos in the house of building. And I built 2 office buildings over there, and I built 6,000 feet of retail space. I did Dr. Lowney's building, I did the building across the day. I did all I did in the thing, and I think it's the most beautiful downtown in the area, okay? So I did my shot. So what else you want?
If you were on the planning board.
Well, I'm not on a planning board, but
that's what you're going for. That's what you're going for tonight, is to get on the planning board. So if elected to the planning board.
I'm gonna blow that. But anyway, I'm answering your question. Am I answering your question? That I did build all the stuff in Canton Center, from the town hall all the way there. And in fact, I even got special permission from the Conservation Commission to build a walkway behind, used to be Lazarus Electric, now it's Forge Pond. I got special permission. They built a little walkway. Can you imagine having a walkway on a waterfront property in the town of Canton? You think that could happen?
I was never on that board.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm hoping to get on there, but I don't think I'm gonna make it.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? You still have a minute.
Well, I got some more I want to talk on the list if I can.
The time is your time.
Oh, okay. So I can continue this reading.
Just
Thank you. I own most of those, I just told us here, I told most of this due to the support I got from the Board of Selectmen and the zoning board, citizens of Canton. I submitted a town meeting. I even got it right up in the Globe Spotlight for being the first town to build a mixed-use downtown revitalization zoning. From this article alone, I just told you, I built 580 apartments, office on it. 3 of the buildings were mixed-use apartments, retail, office space. I believe this development was one of the most successful and beautiful improvements of the downtown area. This included all property. In my professional life, I was appointed to serve the Board of Mass Housing Finance Agency in 1982 under Governor King.
all right, John. You'll have one more chance in the closing as well, but we're keeping it to the 2.5. So, Kathy, with the first part and the second part combined, with the 2.5. So Kathy, same original question. What is the planning board's role in improving Canton Center?
Well, we do the Canton Center overlay district now, and the planning board is right now, we approve all the signs that go up, and we're trying to get them all unified and actually in accordance with the CCEOD. So we improve it that way. We, see all the plans. Someone's building and it should be nice on a corner there. We see when they're doing that. So we do, a lot of things, and we do the, like I said, center overlay building district there. So when they come in, they have to have specific finishes, and all that. So that and the signs would be about it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
You'll be up in a second. But yes. So Kathy, the last again overarching question before we wrap up. If elected, what are some of your priorities for the next 3 years?
I think the first priority, it's very important that we do not go over our 10%. You know, we stay over our 10% for the affordable housing. Right now, we're at a little over 11. So we really have to watch the units that we're putting in and not give builders waivers and, you know, to not have the 10% when they do them. So I think that's like the number one objective, because we do not want another 40B. And then the other thing is we need to be, I think, proactive with our zoning so that it's for, you know, smarter growth, and that we're keeping up with the trends, and that we're cleaning up our zoning of what's outdated now. I think those would be my two biggest priorities, is watching our affordable levels and the zoning.
Great, thank you. So John, same question, and you have 2.5 minutes to answer it however you'd like. But the question is, if elected, what are some of your priorities for the next 3 years?
First of all, that zoning article, I submitted it myself 15 years ago to the town meeting.
Oh, the overlay?
The overlay district is my thing. I did that, and
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I put that, and I followed through with it by doing all this building in the town of Canton. But anyway, let's go on. In my professional life, I think I started that. I was put on the board of Mass Housing Finance Agency in 1982 on the 1 year later, Governor Dukakis became governor. He elevated me up to chairman, of which I got to oversee the construction of 41,000 units of housing, the management of it. Also, I saw the management of 150,000 rentals. And I was instrumental in approving over 35,000 first-time home buyer loans, 100% financing, the first-time home buyer loan. And I was responsible for putting that together. And I was responsible for a $30,000 soft second program. So that's what I was saying, that the state has a lot of things for first-time home buyers and for things. They're the ones who should give the grants. Okay. The agency has a portfolio of $4 billion and a staff of nearly 400 people. It was the third largest affordable housing agency in the country. In the mid-'80s, a group of 8 developers, including myself, raised us quite a bit of money. And we created Caritas communities. We set out to rehab Boston tenements and converting them into SROs, meaning single family occupancy for adults earning under $10,000 a year. In the 20 years I was on the board, right, we created over 400 single room occupancy SROs. All right. Then at the end of 20 years, they got too big and they just sophisticated. They didn't need us anymore, so they fired us. And they became the biggest affordable housing in the city of Boston, Caritas communities. Finally, I was fortunate over all the years. Our elected officials were professional and dedicated, and also the town employees were dedicated and helpful people, including all Canton citizens. I just want you just to know that all this stuff was a lot of stuff, and it was all done with the biggest supporter were the citizens of Canton. We've had many meetings with all the citizens. When I did the downtown revitalization and got that thing approved, I had 3 or 4 meetings. I brought all the citizens in, and we all worked out. They wanted this, and I wanted that. I mean, I'm so upset that they want to take this away from us. I think that Canton.
John, I'm sorry.
Okay, let me just finish.
Well, you've got 2 minutes for your closing statement, and your closing statement. You are up first for the closing statement, but I just want to make sure that we give everybody equal time. So 2 minutes. No, so now it's your closing statement. So you have 2 minutes to wrap up. Make your final case to the voters.
Okay. All right. I was really fortunate over the years, right? That I had to deal with all the, listen, I've dealt with 5 different selectmen boards, 5 different zoning boards, and they all were professional people, and I dealt with all the citizens, and they were all professional. And I just want to say we are so fortunate be living in the town of Canton and the way it's been run over the years I've been here. I've been here 60 years. And never in the 60 years that I've been here that I've ever had anything of a problem without getting in touch with even the employees of Canton. I mean, you don't realize building all this stuff, how much interacting you have to do with the town and the people who run it, people who manage it. And it's just been a great success. And I was very fortunate. And all I can say is that none of this, all this here, this here totals over $500 million in real estate. And all I could say is that nothing could have been done without the support of Canton officials, the citizens of Canton, and all the people involved. I just want to say, I hope if I'm elected, I'm going to keep going the way I'm going. I'm not going to change nothing. I'm going to work with the selectmen and all those to create housing affordable for everybody. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And Kathy, 2 minutes for your closing statement to the voters.
Sure. Okay, before I start my closing, I just want to thank you for your patience. I'm so nervous and I really don't like to public speak. But in closing, I would just like to ask that you consider voting for me for the 5-year planning board term. I will continue to listen to your concerns and will always, always try to do the right thing for the town. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you both. I am really hoping that the biggest snafu of the evening is me asking you what your priorities were for the next 3 years, even though this is a 5-year term.
I didn't even notice.
That will live in Facebook infamy forever. So before I wrap up, I want to remind you to check out CantonMAVoterGuide.com for information about all of the races, candidates, voting information, and more. Thank you to our candidates. As someone who has served 2 terms, both on the Finance Committee and the Select Board, I greatly appreciate what it takes to both run for and serve in public office. And to the audience, thank you for being here this evening. Local elections matter. Every vote counts. Informed voters are essential to local governance. Thanks again for coming and have a great evening.
Thank you.